We want to know what causes certain groups of people to be one way and other groups of people to be another way. So in understanding causality, there's two factors that are absolutely important. One is the things that we decide to do ourselves. On the other side are all of these things that I come up against in the world. I'm really not that interested in them as individuals. I'm really not interested in what they think as individuals. Even though I'm asking them questions, I'm like, yeah, but I'm not interested how you perceive it. What I want to know is, what about all the other people who are walking in your shoes? What we do as sociologists is we try to identify causality in groups. In the moment we begin identifying causality in groups, what it appears, I'm saying that they don't have agency. I woke up today and I didn't wear a dress. I wore jeans and a shirt. It's not chance that I didn't wear a dress. I didn't wear a dress because I've been socialized in a world that says, hey, dude, don't wear a dress. In the world of race and ethnic relations and global relations and cultural relations, what we're trying to do is figure out how and why people do the things they do. Why are different cultures? Why do some cultures do one thing and not another? Why do some people act certain ways? What's happening? What's going on? This is what we're trying to do all the time. This class, in many ways, is trying to assess the differences in the behavior and thinking of people of different racial and ethnic groups or ancestry groups, right? What is it about Africans, right? What is it about people from the GCC countries, right? Arab Muslims, as we talked about last class, right? What is it about white people, European people compared to American white people? Like, what's going on? We talk about Latinos a lot. We talk about Jews. We talk about Gentiles. We talk about Muslims. We talk about Buddhists, Chinese, etc. And we make these generalizable statements, and we make these claims, and we try to have an understanding, or we say whatever we want to say. But in essence, all the time, what we're doing is we're trying to get at causality. We want to know what causes certain groups of people to be one way and other groups of people to be another way. And in the world, we're doing our best to try to figure it out, okay? We're doing our best to try to figure it out without being, judgmental, right? Without saying that one group is better than another. I mean, not all of us are doing that, but people like me are, right? I'm really trying to assess different things about people without saying that one is better than another, really just trying to understand, okay? So that's what this class is about. And everything that we've talked about thus far is trying to understand causality. So in understanding causality, there's two factors that are absolutely important. One is the things that we decide to do ourselves. The motivation that comes from within. This kind of sense that I, Sam, am this entity inside of this body, and I have agency, meaning I have the power to think for myself, or I have the power to act according to my thoughts. I have the power inside of me to make things happen. Like, it's really about me. It is this kind of sense of agency, personal agency, that my brain controls my body, and my brain can make any number of things happen. On the other side are all of these things that I come up against in the world. I come up against where I've grown up. I come up against the time in which I've grown up. In this classroom, I teach in a certain way because it's so big. And I teach in a certain way because I have technology, or because I'm white, or because I'm a man, or because I'm an American, or because I grew up in the working class, or because whatever reason, all the things that got me to college, that got me into graduate school, that led me to be here, all of this complex influence of external factors. In the world of sociology, what we're always doing is we're trying to understand this complex influence of external factors. The personal choice matters for us, right? Personal choice matters, but as sociologists, we're interested in the matrix of influential factors and forces. That's what we study. That's what we do. So I'm really not that, in the last class, the Arab Muslim students who were up here talking, I'm really not that interested in them as individuals. I'm really not interested in what they think as individuals. Even though I'm asking them questions, I'm like, yeah, but I'm not interested how you perceive it. What I want to know is, what about all the other people who are walking in your shoes? Like, that's what I do as a sociologist. I study culture, I study groups. So if you go back to that class, you're going to notice me asking them questions that really pertain to all of the people in their lives, the people around them, the people who identify in similar ways as they do. What we do as sociologists is we try to identify causality in groups. In the moment we begin identifying causality in groups, meaning that I'm going to make a statement about, let's go to the last class, Arab Muslims. The moment I start making a statement about all Arab Muslims, what it sounds like, what it appears is that, I'm saying that they don't have agency, that they act the way they do, they think the way they think, their culture is the way it is because they're Arab Muslims, not because they make any choices. So sociologists seem like we're taking power away from agency. Okay, got it? So because I'm not just like you all, right? If you, like those of you who are in fraternities and sororities, I'm not interested in you. I'm interested in fraternities and sororities. I want to know what the group of people who are in fraternities and sororities on average do and on average think. That's where I enter in. That's the fascinating thing for me. But the moment I start making claims about, you know what? Well, here's what it seems to be, that on average, people in fraternities do X. Whatever it is, they do X. But maybe you don't do X. But it doesn't matter. I'm looking at averages. I'm making these generalizations. I'm making these statements about people in fraternities, which is not true of every single person, but that's not what sociology is. And once I make that step, man, it's like a black hole, right? I step into this like quicksand of here's what happens when you join a fraternity. It sounds like what I'm saying, this is important, okay? It sounds like what I'm saying is that people who join fraternities, that Sam is now talking about, they give up their agency. They're no longer making decisions. They're just acting as part of fraternities. But that's not what I'm saying. I'm just interested in the parts of people that are motivated by the same things that other people in their groups are motivated by. Got it? I'm just interested in this group. What happens? And there's not a lot you can say because the group is made up of individuals. It's made up of individuals, and each individual has their own mind, but at the same time, when you put that group together, you go like, man, you know what? There's something about young men at Penn State who live in fraternities that's different than young men at Penn State who don't live in fraternities. The way they act, the way they think, the way they do this, the way they do that. Sometimes that's not the case. But when you find that thing, you say like, oh, okay, wow, that's kind of interesting. It doesn't mean that they don't have individual ideas or agencies, but it just means that's the thing we're focusing on, okay? So, it sounds like what sociologists are doing is we're withdrawing agency from people. We're saying like, yeah, poor people are less likely to go to college and because for a wide range of reasons. But you might say, no, listen, everybody can go to college. Or people who are poor are more likely to drop out of high school than people who are not poor. And you might say, well, dropping out of high school is an agency decision. That's something that somebody has to decide. Like one day you decide, I'm dropping out of high school. There's nothing about being poor. It doesn't matter if you're poor. Stay in high school, stay in school, do whatever you have to do. But the sociologist says, nah, there's something that happens. There's something that happens. And I'm really sure what it is. Well, we can throw some hypotheses out about the specific causes of that. But there's something that goes on that people, are more likely to drop out. And what people who listen to sociologists say, it's like, but wait, but you're saying they're not responsible for dropping out. Because you're saying that it's their poverty that leads them to drop out. And this is really important. But the sociologist says, no, listen. The poverty is among that influence of external factors that shapes human behavior. And that we think that we're in control. We think we're free. We think we're acting in all the ways that we imagine that we are, and we're not. Like, for example, I don't know, I saw a group of white sorority women gathering a few weeks ago, and they all had the same uniform on. I mean, it was jeans and a white shirt, and they all had the same hair, and I'm like, yo, man, how? Like, they didn't get together and say, like, to be part of our sorority, you got to all wear this same thing. Nobody said that, but they did. And if I asked any single one of them, they would say, no, I chose this. Like, this is what I'm choosing. I'm like, you're not choosing that. If you were choosing that, you wouldn't all look alike. It's just not random. This is like this would be as random as winning the Powerball lottery. Like, that you would just all randomly choose to wear the same thing. Like, no. And that's all of us. I woke up today and I didn't wear a dress. I wore jeans and a shirt. It's not chance that I didn't wear a dress. I didn't wear a dress because I've been socialized in a world that says, hey, dude, don't wear a dress. And if you wear a dress, it's going to be kind of awkward, but unless it's Halloween, you could wear a dress. But don't really do that. And then I just have learned to not do that. Just like many of you have learned that there's not a chance in hell that you are going to drop out of high school. You are never going to drop out of high school. That is not even an option for the all but maybe 5 or 10 of you. It's not even an option for you. He's like, well, but I could drop out, theoretically speaking. No, you couldn't. You couldn't. You can't even envision it. It's not even possible. And the fact that it's not even possible for you to truly envision it and walk, you can envision it, but you would never in a million years do it. And the reason, and it's just as impossible as it would be for the person who drops out, who grows up in a certain neighborhood with a certain group of people in a certain area, it's just as impossible for them to not imagine dropping out. For them to imagine going to college at Penn State University. You think, of course I go to college at Penn State University. Like, of course I would go to college. But can you imagine that there are people who, there's almost zero chance that they could envision themselves as going to Penn State University. You are just as unfree as they are. The vast majority of the choices you make are not even choices. You don't even know. You have no idea how unfree you are because you're being shaped by this life around you. Just like me not wearing a dress. Okay? So in the world of sociology, we're really fascinated by causality, right? By causality. And we have to always put this question of responsibility on the table because it sounds all the time like sociologists are telling people they're not responsible for their behavior. Because I'm looking at you all and I'm like, yeah, you weren't going to drop out of college. You're never going to drop out. And you're not responsible for that. You were conditioned and socialized and brought along in this world that was not even going to be a possibility for you. And you're not responsible for that. It's beyond your control. Except that you could drop out. So, all right, so you have a little bit of possible responsibility. But honestly, I don't know. And the kid that drops out, and then we look at, and we're like, well, that kid dropped out. He should have stayed in school. He made that decision. Now he really effed his life up, screwed his life up. Like he really should have stayed in school and done whatever. And you have me as a sociologist saying like, yeah, but that kid's about as free as you are. This is the thinking of a sociologist. And it's really fascinating to live in this world. And we're always dealing with the fact that people are saying like, hey, you're telling people they're not responsible. It's like, no, really in a way, I'm telling people that their decisions are being made by things outside of them, okay? Got it? And in the end, yeah, you got to say you're responsible. Yeah, kind of. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. It's really interesting. Got it? This is what we wrestle with all the time. Because for me, personally, every decision I make, I take responsibility for it. Even like the worst ones that I'm like, oh, why did I do that? That was like the dumbest thing I ever did. And I take responsibility for it, even though I understand oftentimes where it came from. Like I know the things that I do that are related to my working class roots. That I'm just like, yeah, if I wasn't working class, man, I wouldn't, there's no way I would do all these things. I'd be so different. But like, yeah, but I don't blame it on my working class, but I bet that helps me to understand, okay?